Mother's heart is the hardest thing you'll ever come across. Her nurturing love will make you feel super soft. I don't wanna ever see you when it's sad. I can't stand the thought of seeing a mother sad. When they took her kids, it tore her apart. For the first time in her life, she was absent of heart. Not knowing where to turn, she buried her head. Is she alive or is she dead? This mama choices she had to make. This was hard for her to do, just to stay awake. Her heart was crumbled, felt no more. Then she heard a loud knock on her door. Sam knows what it's like to be destroyed. It's a feeling that hides behind a noise. She recognizes that you need help. Sam brought you some love for you to feel. She will pick you up, so here's the deal. The first step you must trust is a must. My name is Sam, and me you must trust. Now we can start this journey. Take a breath and wipe away your tears. Make sure now you're all ears. You need to hear the sound of your heart, so you know you're doing your part. Sam's healing journey is for all in pain. She is doing the stuff till she's no longer shamed. She holds her children in her heart. She misses them so much, just like you. Sam does what she needs to do. She's giving up her pain to stand by you. Make sure you listen to what she says. She's truly helping you instead. Together we will all get a bit better. Do what you love, maybe knit a sweater. We all need to heal the way we can. So join this healing journey with Sam. We've got the love, we need it. Sam's got the heart, you'll feel it. Let's heal together. It's our journey here with Sam. It's our journey here with Sam. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, Chris. Welcome. Hello, Erica. John. Welcome to Heal with Sam. Oops. I knew I shouldn't have messed with that. Welcome, welcome. Sorry, I'm having phone difficulty. We'll just go with that. Okay. Hi. Happy Saturday night to y'all. Today's topic is sharing your story. And whatever you may have to bring to this space that you are struggling with or has been weighing on your heart or mind. Any questions? This space is for the viewers. It's not for me, it's for y'all, us. I'm here for y'all. I always start with a feeling word, and I was going to show you the feeling wheel. I know you can't read it, but it looks like that. And I'm going to tell you why that's important in just a second. And here's an example, because I know you couldn't read that, but when you start in the center where it's small, there's fear, anger, love. I'm going to choose empowered. And then as it expands, you get more choices, like confident, courageous, solid, secure, spontaneous. grounded, resilient. There's a bunch. I'm not going to read them all. Open-minded, peaceful, um spunky. I see spunky was under joy. I like spunky. I'm going to choose spunky and strong for my feeling words tonight. And so the reason that wheel is important, I was going to share that. Did y'all have any feeling words you were going to put in the comments? Sometimes it's not so easy to decide. It seems like we would always know, but I know sometimes I don't even know how I feel. The feelings wheel is important because it builds emotional awareness, helping you move beyond basic feelings like mad and sad to more specific, like nuisance, frustrated, disappointed, which enables better self understanding and stronger relationships. Frustrated. Ooh, that's in the mad category. Thank you for sharing a feeling word, Erica. I always try to give a positive word, but sometimes it's just not possible. When anybody has dealt with CPS, I think frustrated is a pretty common feeling, and violated. Violated is definitely mad. Yep. I don't know if your words have to do with CPS, but those are common ones for CPS. I never hear someone who's dealt with CPS say they felt motivated or supported. Never, ever have heard anybody say that. That's the way it should be, but it's not, as you know. Sh- Um, an effective healing strategy from the trauma and injustices of CPS is sharing your story. Sad. Yes. CPS has caused me depths of sad darkness that I didn't even ever want to know. Um, gosh, everybody's in a well, thank you for sharing and identifying your feeling. I do appreciate that. Mo- work. Work is frustrating today. I know after the termination of my parental rights, I kind of expected life to just be easy. After losing custody of 5 children and after fighting CPS for 3 years, I really thought God was just gonna, like, take it easy on me with life's frustrations. I figured I had a good decade, if not 2, but life doesn't stop for us to heal from CPS. Um, I would say work is one of my struggles, but I'm not gonna look at it that way. I'm in between jobs right now, and that's a good thing. Take your grandkids and not think twice about it. Mm. In my story, I noticed how, you know, the caseworkers and the investigator especially didn't have much say so. It was the supervisors, and the few caseworkers that I had that were like human ish, the things that they would let happen, with the destruction of my family, it made me think that the supervisor lied to them, possibly, because about like past like I don't know, about something from the past, not present, to justify all the horrible, all the separation that they caused between me and my kids. Because I could never be a worker and stand by and watch a family be torn apart. But if my supervisor was telling me something to justify it, then I can see where I wouldn't have time to go see if that's true. I would trust my supervisor. I wouldn't question my boss. That was just one thought I had, because I agree with you, Tina. Hello, Herbert. Thank you for joining. I am fixing to play the very first video I ever posted. I wanted to talk about the effective healing strategy for sharing your story. It does a lot of things for a parent. It empowers you. CPS, they bring you down and then they kick you when you're down, and they leave you feeling so powerless and insignificant and abused and violated. And so when you speak your truth and share your story, you really do gain your power back. And so sharing your story empowers you. It inspires others to do the same. It helps others who are going through the same or something similar. It spreads awareness for those who have never gone through it, but the topic is children. The victim is children. So it's something, it's an experience, it's a reality that everybody needs to know. I think it's the biggest crisis in our country. That's my opinion, but sharing your story, it does a lot of really great, positive, effective things. So here comes my first. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I'm just going to show the very beginning of the first time I had to press post. I was so scared. Um, okay, here it is. In this video, if you notice, I'm holding something. And if you notice my background in this video, it's my apartment that I finally got. It took me 3 years with my case plan, because getting my own place was something I had never done. I had always depended on a man, and independence was something that I had never experienced. And so having my own home was part of my case plan, and it took me 3 years. So in the background, you'll see my first home. And the reason I point that out is because it didn't matter that I had my own place. It didn't matter that I completed my case plan. My rights were still terminated. So my apartment became my healing center, my healing space, the whole thing. And it was filled with things that make me feel better, like flowers and my favorite colors, and it had positive affirmations everywhere. And so if you notice the background in this video, you'll see a little glimpse of that. Just know the whole house was like that. All right, here we go. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't think it'll. That's not it. Hi, I'm Sam. I wanted to make a quick video intro to post about my new page on Facebook, Make Waves. Make Waves is a part of my healing journey. Last summer, July 29th, my parental rights were terminated to my 5 children. So I endured a tremendous trauma, and I started stuttering. I paused. Like, it was the first time that I had ever said that out loud. besides saying it to the whole world, theoretically, to the whole world or to the whole social media world, it was the first time I said it. It was the first time I claimed it. It was the first time that I stood in a space where I shared what happened to me from a place of empowerment and not shame. And that does something to you. And so when I tell parents, I encourage you to share your story. Like, I'm not just mindlessly suggesting that. Like, from the core of my soul, I genuinely suggest parents to do that because it does something to you and for you. And that in itself is a reason to do it. And then the benefits of it just keep coming. Besides helping others, not feel alone, someone who has a similar story, you make connections with people. And that's what life's about is connections. So it that I'll show you a few more seconds, but like this is my TikTok is a huge part of my healing journey from the termination of my parental rights, the death penalty for parents. And so this is Facebook. I didn't stay on Facebook long. I went to TikTok, but like this is the first video that started it all. I always thought if I lost my kids, I would die. I'm sure that makes sense to people. And if you're a mother, you can imagine and relate to being a mom, having your children, and the thought crossing through your head, or a DCF investigator at the door, and the thought, if I lost my kids, what would I do? What would happen? And my response was, I would die. And I very much meant that at the time, that if I lost my children, I would die. Well, here we are, February 8th, 2023, and 7 months ago, I lost my children. My rights were terminated, and they were placed in foster care, and I assume put up for adoption. I don't know. I have no updates on my kids. I don't know anything. But I do know that I don't want to die. I'm gonna cry. Oh, yes, it does, John. It really does. It's better than what CPS wants. CPS wants parents ashamed and isolated. It's very disturbing to think how many parents didn't make it. And I understand that. CPS has so much blood on their hands, is the way I look at it. And it's so easy to experience CPS and live a life in shame and blame and guilt and isolation. But I refuse to do that. I refuse to let y'all do that. So I am glad you're here. That was 3 years ago that I shared my story, and in just 3 years, it's changed so much. When I went to TikTok shortly after that video, like 2 months later, I left Facebook for TikTok. Facebook was a little judgmental and harsh. TikTok wasn't. And I was one of the first moms to share my story on TikTok. And now when I open my TikTok, there's so many moms sharing their story, and that makes me so happy. So like there's been so much change in just 3 years. And I am hopeful for the future of the system and legislation and parents reunifying and parents, having children removed at all ever, and parents healing and speaking out. I'm very hopeful. When there's just different ways to share your story besides social media. When a person chooses social media, they're going to face negative comments. You have to just you know that, be prepared for that. In the very beginning, it may not be the best time if you don't feel ready to face the scrutiny of people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. But also know that most people are going to have to step out of their comfort zone. Like, you're never going to wake up one day, most likely, and say, I want to share my most horrific, traumatizing, embarrassing, story with the world. Like, you're probably never going to wake up and feel that. So, um, I did step out of my comfort zone, and it was scary. In that video I just showed you, I was scared. I guess I don't know, you probably couldn't see it, but I was holding a squishmallow. I love squishmallows. They're the best. Um, I was holding it, hugging it. The, the material that they're made of is scientifically proven to reduce stress and anxiety. So I was holding on to that beaver squishmallow for dear life. I still have them on my bed. I love them. And I was really scared, but it was really empowering. Um, it's very unhealthy to keep all of it in. Um, but a person can share their story with a blog. It doesn't have to be a video. It doesn't have to be social media, but in whichever way, and I don't want to say that feels comfortable to you, because I do encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, because I did this 6 months after my TPR. So it was at the beginning of my healing journey. And stepping out of my comfort zone and overcoming that fear, it like propelled me into this like momentum of being unstoppable. And that's who doesn't want to feel unstoppable? So I mean, that's a great feeling, right? So um, if you're scared or nervous, I recommend doing it anyway, because the benefits outweigh that fear in the beginning. And the negative comments, you can ignore them, or you can message me and I'll come in your comments and I'll tell them I'll let them know. I'm not confrontational with anybody in my comments. And I have had some very just rude, ignorant, and hateful and judgmental comments. Um I either ignore it or respond with something very educational, calm. I usually just ignore it, really. But when I'm in somebody else's comments and I'm seeing them just not know what the hell they're talking about and bringing the mother down at the same time, I'm on top of it. I can't stand that. So I'm not recommending anybody lash out. I'm just saying that's what I do. So if you share your story and you need somebody in the comments, I got you. But I don't I mean, in my comments, like, I would never do that. That's not setting a good example for us moms who are already being judged and shamed by society. But the more we speak out, the more that will change. The narrative in our country has got to change. It doesn't even match the number of people affected by CPS. Like, that number increases every single year. Yet society is like lynching on to this narrative about CPS, where if a mom has their kids removed and a mom has her rights terminated, she's bad, she deserved it, she abused and neglected her kids. And that's not true. That's not always true. And so society is going to have to catch up to what's going on. Um, I've always had compassion for the people who just don't know, and so they judge and they shame and they lash out and they're rude. But I think my patience with them is maxed out, because, like, I mean, CPS don't even deny being corrupt. So, like, what society's holding on to is fear that it could happen to them. And I gently try to tell people on my TikTok that it can happen to you. So I love squishmallows too. I could talk about squishmallows for an hour. I'm not, but I could. Um, what does my oldest son think about what I'm doing? I don't tell my family what I'm doing. Um, my oldest son knows I'm helping others. That's the extent of what I share with my family. My family's weird, but I think that's kind of normal. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I would love to say that he knows and that he's proud of me, but he's my son, and so it's kind of like cringe for kids, I think. I think at least for my son it would be, "Mom, what are you doing? Why?" But um he my oldest son next he lives next door. He It was a couple of years ago now, but he was like, "How are you getting through this?" You know, I mean, he lost his half siblings, but I lost my children, and I told him by helping people, by helping others, and so that's all he knows. Thank you for asking, Miss Debbie. I am very blessed to have two older boys who were never affected by the system. CPS kept knocking on my door, and I was like, "Whoa." They already had a room at my parents' house just down the street, so I was like, "They probably need to go there," because my ex was after me and the younger kids, and, he wouldn't stop calling in the hotline. And I am a protective mother. I left him, which was the scariest thing I've ever done, because I'm a protective mother, which caused me not to have shelter. And CPS used that against me instead of seeing me as protective and helping me or assisting me with housing. They took my kids our second day at the homeless shelter and placed them with my abuser. Thanks, Chris. I have two very good, smart, handsome boys next door. And when I say good, I mean good. And I used to take all the credit for that, but really, truly, it's God because they're so good. Like they're only 14 months apart. They're 23 and 22 years old right now, and they've never fought. They've never been in a fight. They've never fist fought. They've never acted a fool. I've never had to split them up. They've never like screamed at each other. Like they're just good kids. And so I'm very grateful. Oh, we have about 10 more minutes. Let's see. I had I had something else. Does anybody have anything else? Um, sh- I just remembered Darren, the CPS Punisher. He shared his story on Spotify. So that's you don't have there's no video. That's a way to share your story. I listened to his whole podcast series on Spotify about his CPS story. I think in one sitting. He that's a That's a good way to share your story. A podcast like that on Spotify. You could be a guest on my show and share your story. That's a way to share your story. My lawyer has told me over the phone if Chris does not do PMTO, they are going to terminate her right. Mm, I'm sorry. That little boy needs to be home with his mom and grandma more than anything in this world. And I know it is tough, and that's probably why Chris wrote sad today in her for her feeling word. Do I know a couple places? Drug test is a hotel. No, and the Montauk Project. I'm gonna write that down. Henry had a good show tonight. I was taking some notes from his show before this one. I don't, John. I wrote that down though. I was watching a video today, which is something I knew that CPS targeted its people, who receive benefits, people in poverty. But this video, the way the woman explained it, like made it really hit home for me how if a child is receiving Medicare, Medicaid, or food stamps, then their time in foster care is not only paid for, but the state receives money, which I knew that, but the way she was explaining it was how I never thought of the flip side of that. Well, what if a child removed doesn't receive Medicaid or food stamps? I never thought about that. Well, the state would have to pay for it. CPS would have to pay for it, not the federal government. And it was an eye opener for me. I never thought about the flip side. So it's definitely an injustice to people struggling. Places that do drug tests at hotels is crazy. They take when they don't have a place for the foster children. I think it's the older ones, but they put them in a hotel and then have somebody around the clock just like sitting outside the door or something. That is insane to me. Um, I learned that drug tests are only supposed to be done by someone who is appropriate to administer a drug test at their certain designated facility. I know I had a false positive drug test, and when I was talking to my caseworker about it, she said, "Well, um, it's summertime in Florida, and the drug test she keeps in her car, and it can cause the heat can cause a false positive." And then, I mean, she's saying this to me just as casual as can be, and I'm very upset about a false positive, and I'm talking to her about it because, it should have said negative, and then her reasoning made sense. The heat in a car locked up in Florida, like, that makes sense, but why aren't you doing anything about it? Or why are you still storing them in your hot car? You know, that blew my mind. But, they're not even supposed to administer drug tests in our homes or at their office, I'm pretty sure. So a hotel, that's a whole new level of wow. That's crazy. Hotels are, they scare me nowadays. Um, Today I put a lot of thought into the show. Okay. I don't Oh, MK, oh goodness. Okay. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get Yes, I can. Okay, thank you, John. I put a lot of thought into this show today because I really want I want viewers. I want people to get something out of each show. I want um a flow. So I am working on that. I need like it's closing time, and I want something to close with that's like profound or something. So I'm working on that. I appreciate y'all for being here. Um, Closing thoughts I could do if I had a guest. My closing thought is it's a brand new year. It's a fresh new start. And I hope for everyone to stay positive. Our thoughts and our emotions, it really does affect the things around us. And so I'm here every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central. You can find me on TikTok at Sam's Healing Journey. And I do appreciate you for being here. That's sweet, Chris. It feels so good to be called mom. All right, Danielle, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you.
Parents who've lost time with their children carry a unique kind of pain. This is Heal with Sam. This space is for parents healing from CPS trauma and ambiguous grief. Dealing with CPS is the hardest thing a loving parent can be forced to do. In a system that isn't designed to protect, but to profit, it can feel like you're going crazy. Join me in a conversation of self-discovery tools, self-care strategies, and empowerment techniques to help you overcome the challenges of life without your children, heal from trauma, gain clarity, and strength.